So we're looking at the skills, and we saw to care, and we spoke about caring. And we use the word quite often, right? So we definitely resonate with it. You know, like, but I care, or I don't care. It pretty much summarizes our standpoint on things. So, seems like such a small, insignificant word, like in terms of our vocab, but actually the significance of it is incredibly deep. Because when we care, then there's so much thought, and there's so much emotion, and there's so much of, basically when we care, we invest it. It's a part of us, and it features in our lives. And when we don't care, exactly the opposite. And then there was the sense of deep response, the second quality that was described by Gurudev. And this is that it's really got to do with tuning. I spoke about tuning last week. Last week was so long ago. How can you all remember? Unreasonable. Tuning happened on Tuesday. So deep response is there's a sense of tuning. I think last week I spoke about intuition. Okay, deep response is there's this tuning with the person. So we connect with them at total mind level. And so there's a sense of what they need. Or even what kind of frame of mind they and so therefore what they need. But sometimes not necessarily even that I know they sad or they this or they that. Like I've experienced it in incredible ways. It would be something like the weather changed, and I would have a passing thought, literally passing thought. Huh? And I'm not even invested in the thought. It will be a passing thought. Oh, soup would be nice in this kind of weather. Not that I even really want, because dal is soup, sabji soup, plus so many things. You don't even really, I'm not even sitting really thinking about it. And someone will turn up and say, yeah, I was making this soup, and for some reason I just kept thinking of you. So I just wanted to give you some. It will be incredible the amount of times that will happen. And it's not even just food. It will be something like, I was at the supermarket, and then suddenly when I looked at this, I thought of you, and so I bought you the soap. And I'll be like, I'm out. I need it. And so how did they know? Like they didn't consciously think about me. A thought just popped into their mind. And it so happened that it would have been something I would have thought of, or something that I needed. And the idea is that there's tuning. It's not a conscious sitting and thinking, right? They're like, oh, the weather has fallen. People like soup when the weather has fallen. My Swaminiji must be having soup. Let me make soup and tea. It's not a conscious thinking it through. That's also a good thing to do. In care, we do that, right? In care, conscious thinking through. Weather has changed. People who are homeless might be getting cold. Take some blankets, and that's care. And so that's also a beautiful quality about love. But deep response is there's this tuning, and so I just know. And so slight shifts in the other person will register in me without me consciously knowing, and so I respond. Right? There's a shift in the person, I respond. And that's why it's called deep response. And it's deep because it's not consciously planning or thinking. It's that intuitive understanding that we were talking, and it's not uncommon, but it's also not common. And so every time it happens, it's like, oh, and the reason we get happy when it happens is because it's not so common. Um, and so there is this delight, there is this incredible delight in the sense of having a tuning. And it reinforces the connection, right? The minute you have that, then the joy of having experienced it reinforces your affection for that person and that affection's person for you. And so it deepens the connect in a way. And these are the joys of life. You know, these really are the joys. Small things, but they're not so small because it's the connection between us that is the most important and the most significant. Even in terms of Vedanta, the ultimate in Advaita Vedanta, in terms of our experience of it, is to recognize the self in me as the self in you. So to recognize that same divine essence in me to be the same divine essence in you. And so that complete oneness of seeing me in you and you in me and seeing no separateness. And so it's not a small thing to feel the connect. It's a very incredibly important part of it. And so when we feel connect, it actually takes us to that place where a part of me is you and a part of you is me. And that's why it's so joyful, and that's why it's so beautiful, and that's why it's so meaningful. Yeah. Because to have that deep response to someone, I have to get to that point where that point deep enough within me so that I can connect deep enough within you. That's why the spiritual journey. And I think the shortcoming is that we do it with few people. We invest in like these 2-3 relationships. These are my inner, these are my peeps. But slowly the idea is to be able to expand who I'm willing to allow in and reach out to. Okay, so I think we start now, letter number 8, is that correct? Yes? No? Maybe? 7. We finished 7, right? We finished 2 qualities. So now we're doing the second 2 qualities.
I love you, chapter 8. There are no eyes that see like knowledge. There are no joys as in truthfulness. There are no pains as in attachment. And there is no bliss as in desirelessness, in true renunciation. Beloved children, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Namaskaram. 2 of the 4 fundamental factors that underlie all sincere and deep love were discussed in my last letter. I promised that we would discuss the remaining 2 factors this time. We had already found that our sincere concern for our beloved is meaningless if we do not have a sense of deep response to our beloved ones. And this sense of mental attunement, this divine faculty of effortlessly knowing the feelings and needs in the hearts of our beloved ones, can never be generated in full measure unless we have an ardent attitude of reverence towards the loved ones. And this is the 3rd factor in every instance of sincere love given or shown. We all have depths of personality in us, yet we generally meet the world only from our surface. When we are on our surface, we can contact only the surface of the others around us. If we move a little into our own inner nature, we can from there contact the deeper levels in others. For example, With our eyes, we can see others. With our hands, we can embrace other bodies. But only from our heart and with our sympathy can we touch the hearts of others and generate their sympathies. With our thoughts, we can kindle new thoughts in others and unveil therein new understanding. Thus, in order to contact the depth in others, we must learn to sing out our love from our own deeper depths. Reverence is not merely an emotion of love from our heart or a mere respect born of our intellectual understanding. We can love without respect. We can also respect a person without loving him. I love chocolate, but I don't understand what are its ingredients and how it is made. I understand science, and so I respect scientists, but I don't love any scientist. Where our sense of love from our mind and our sense of respect from our intellect meet to merge together at one and the same altar, the feeling so generated at the confluence of love and respect is called reverence. This can be generated and maintained only by an integrated mind-intellect equipment in ourselves. Thus, when we have a deep sense of reverence for life and all living creatures, then alone our love for others becomes potent. I may love you, but in case I have no respect for you, certainly you will always feel insulted at all my sincere and loving approaches. The lover must have a subtle sense of reverence towards the beloved. If you love your mother or father or brother, but you have no reverence for them, they will not at all be influenced by your love. Loving the world without reverence for life and people is like a delicious curry, well cooked and cleanly served, but without salt. In the factors of reverence, the love aspect is generally known to us. The moment we hear the word respect, we misunderstand it to mean a feeling mingled with fear, awe, and distance between ourselves and the object of our reverence. This is wrong. The root from which the word respect comes is recipica, meaning to look at. To respect a person, therefore, means to cognize him as he actually is. To show respect means to help him grow and unfold himself, in himself, by himself. The parents should respect their children. Teachers must have respect for their students. We are not able to give others this true respect because we do not feel one with them. What we generally call love is only an attempt to make use of the loved one for our purpose. Thus, we strive to make of him or her what we want him or her to be. This is not love. A true lover sees the beloved with perfect objectivity and without interfering with the personality of the beloved one. The lover, with his ungrudging love, blesses the other to grow, unfold, and fulfill by himself or herself. Love, when it is pure, has a revitalizing effect upon others. And in the presence of such a truly loving one, others grow and expand into a healthier state of being. Without deep reverence to the beloved, such a refreshing stream of love cannot flow from the heart of the lover. Generally, We need help from others to live effectively and continue functioning efficiently as a psychological entity. We are very rarely, if ever, free in our mental life. We need others and their applause, their acceptance and kindness, their sympathy and love, etc., to scaffold our individuality, our ego. In short, we want to be loved by others. To give love, we must become independent in ourselves and be a pillar in life, allowing others to hold on to us. Only such an individual who needs no crutches for his own existence can have the power to give love. All others are only receivers of love. When a person who has such an inner strength of personality and a healthy sense of deep reverence to life and people gives love, it transforms the world of creatures in his orbit. He constantly throws around him a vibrant light of wondrous enchantment, himself forming an island of peace and contentment in the stormy life of tumultuous fears and smashing confusions all around him. To summarize, dear children, we have so far discussed that to be a dynamic person of strength and leadership, living a rich life of service, ever looking out for chances to give love to all others, we must, number one, have a sincere concern for the beloved. Number two, a sense of deep response. And number three, an ardent attitude of reverence to life and the world around us. Without reverence, the response will not be satisfactory. And where there is no ability to respond, there can be no deep concern for the beloved. Now, the ardent attitude of reverence can spring up only where there is full understanding. And so the fourth basic factor in love is, number four, a complete understanding of the loved one.
Okay. So I think I've mentioned several times that this book really changed me when I first read it all those years ago, 1996. So long ago. But this was one of the points that really registered. And there were many points where I thought, like, how did I not know that? How that was like totally mind-blowing. You know that emoji they have where the mind literally blows? Literally. So this having respect for another person. Because when we don't, the other person can feel it and feels insulted by it. Yeah. And so I remember being very aware of that effect of allowing a person not to feel insulted, or being aware of how, if I ever did create that feeling of being insulted. And so there's two aspects, right? That sense of respect and how it comes from another person. And so I'll talk about how I played with it, but of course everyone can play with it in their own way. And the idea is this to love, I have to see some beauty. I'm not going to love otherwise. Like we look at the garbage dumpster and it doesn't invoke love because we don't see beauty. Somebody else who's, maybe been hungry for days or something might. Their response to that same scenario is different because they have so much more value for what we threw away. So the idea is for us to love, we have to be able to see beauty or some value, even if it's not beauty, some kind of value, some kind of appreciation. Today we don't use those gramophones. And in fact, it's like ancient. If we even saw somebody with having that, you know the ones I'm talking about, right? But it will have value today because it will have that nostalgia, it will have that, it looks so quaint, it looks so retro is the word I've been told. It looks retro. And how delicate it is. You know, one scratch on that and it's ruined. And so even though it may not, so just to see value in it, already there's an appreciation and the way we talk about it will be different. If you don't see value in it, then it's like, that's obsolete, it's so old. Like, why do you even have it? The way we talk about it becomes so different. And so it's not just, you could, the idea here is you can't fake it. I know sometimes they say fake it till you make it, right? But with love, you can't fake it. If I don't love or if I don't respect, there'll be a part of you that knows. I mean, you might welcome the flattery and you might welcome the attention and you might welcome the perks of, you know, whatever it is that I am trying to do. But there'll be a sense of understanding that there isn't that complete appreciation or value for, I don't have value. And so if you think about how each one of us feel, it's so incredibly inborn and innate that we need to feel we have value. That's so much of our journey in our lives. We're trying to create a value. We work so we have value. We create relationships so we have values. We have a sense of belonging so we have value. We really need to feel we have value. And we tend to do this based on other people valuing us. Just because that's how we look for happiness. In whatever way we're looking for happiness, we're looking for it outside. So even with this, wanting to be valued and needing to be valued, we look for it from outside. And so since we are looking for affirming our value from people outside, we'll know when somebody doesn't value us or feels we are not valuable. And so it can't be faked. Or even if it can be faked for a little while, it can't be sustained. Sometimes random quotes stick, right? I remember my dad used to quote this always. You can fool some of the people some of the time. Yeah, but you can't fool everybody all of the time. I think he used it more in terms of politics and all of that. But, you know, the principle holds. Even when we are trying to deliberately, undeliberately charm a person, if it's not genuine, cannot be sustained. Okay, so respect. So how to find and truly have a sense of appreciation for another person. Yeah. It's actually not hard to do. So I actually really remember reading this book. I remember putting it down. I remember practicing things and playing with things. And so one of the things Gurudev says in so many words in this chapter is respect is to look at, right? The translation of the word in terms of Latin, to be able to look at. And so to really see what's there. That's respect, to really see what's there, and to look at it is to be able, it's honoring it with my complete and full attention as I look at it. And so that's the easiest thing to practice. So when you meet someone, be completely present and notice them, be aware of them, acknowledge their presence and whatever it is and whoever it is that they are. So just completely be there and just look at them. It can be scary if you're doing it too intensely. You start staring them down. It's just being, it's this very gentle presence, and you're just completely there. Open, actually, it's more than looking at, it's an open to see, but completely present. The mind has to be completely present. And so that I had set that as my task. And I got into this habit of doing it, and I was in university, right? In that, when that phase of my life. And I remember, I think about 2 months or 3 months into doing this, it was this, I felt overwhelmed because I thought, absolutely every person is so beautiful. Like every single face is so beautiful. They weren't so beautiful before. People really weren't so beautiful before. How did people suddenly become so beautiful? And then it was this weird thing that I was like, let's see, are they really beautiful? And so I'd really look. And then and literally after about a moment of me looking at them, yeah, they're beautiful. Come on, can it be that every single face is beautiful? Because, I don't think I was so generous in good looking compliments before this. And it was amazing, because the more you look, the more I looked, the more I saw beauty in any face, just absolutely any face. And so to look at is to see whatever it is that is the value that's there, is the beauty that's inherently there. And so I don't have to try to respect. It's not I have to respect this person, it's another person. I'm trying to practice love here, and I have to, it's not even in that, it's just this willingness or this openness of my mind to be able to see. And it shows itself to you. And so I've experienced this in 2 ways. In that specifically then, it was very intense. I guess I had first read the book, I had first done the practice, and it was such a drastic change to what I had been experiencing. And so it was very, very notable. And what it felt like was, around that same time, there was that trend where you do those 3D pictures, and you had to look into the 3D picture, and then suddenly you could see it. Do you remember that? Do you remember those 3D pictures? Yeah, some of you remember that. It's like a weird pattern, and you can't see the image, and then you have to kind of almost look cross-eyed into it, and then suddenly the picture, and literally it comes out at you because it's 3D. So, and that's what it felt like. It felt like all I had to do was be here with this person, and just that same kind of, like, if you're trying really hard to look at that 3D picture, you don't see it, right? You have to kind of like relax, and then the picture reveals itself to you. That's literally what it feels like. It's like it shows itself. And this was with looking at people. All I had to do was be there, be present, and be willing to see. And it was their beauty was revealed to me. Not even that they showed it to me. It's like not that they came and say, I'm this, this is my beauty, and this is, no, that wasn't what happened. It was revealed by, I can't explain. It was just revealed, like that picture and then suddenly you can just see it. And the other thing about those 3D pictures is once you see it, you don't unsee it. Like then you just always see it, which is a very cool thing. And the second way in which I've experienced this is with the verses of the scriptures, Gita and Upanishads. Sometimes you hear the verse and you hear, well, I would have heard Guruji's commentary, I would have heard Swamiji's commentary, I would have read Pujya Gurudev's commentary, and sometimes I'm trying to teach this verse, or when I got to Hong Kong and when I was first teaching, and there, when I was first teaching, there was the sense of like, I had to get it right. I had to make sure I had to communicate the message of the scriptures correctly. I was being Gurudev's ambassador, don't muck up kind of thing. And then I'd hear the verse and sometimes it would be, the verse is over. I took the class and the verse is over. So I would have read the verse, I would have read how many commentaries, I would have studied the verse, I would have done the verse in the class, and now the verse is over, and I would have gone for some hike, or I'd be at the flower market, my favorite places in Hong Kong. That's all I did in those days, go for hiking, go to flower market, teach classes. Or something where that was fairly relaxing. Sometimes when you're just about to fall asleep, and then of course your classic scenario, sitting on the loo, because you're not thinking anything specific at those points in time and your mind's just free. And suddenly the verse explained itself to me. I'd be like, where was this in the class? The mantra reveals itself. And that's what the scriptures actually say. That's what meditation is. You've got to take yourself into that frame of mind, and then the mantras reveal themselves to you. Knowledge reveals itself to you. But what was so beautiful was it happened with every face. Like, it's not just mantras reveal themselves to you, God is revealing himself or herself to us through every face. All I have to do is just be there. And just be to look at, right? The word sounds so, but that it's that frame of mind, to just look at it, to just be there. And that willingness to see. And the willingness to see includes the willingness to wait. It can't be rushed. It has to be the willingness to wait for it to reveal itself. And it always did. And then I think that was one of the things that made this book so life-changing for me. That every face, absolutely every face in those few months would be so, wow. And it's just a face, and it's faces I would have seen several times before. But what changes is our mind, right? That's what changes. And so in terms of a Vedanta, when we go back to Vedanta, our mind and intellects are reflective surfaces reflecting divinity within us. And then that reflective surface bounces its light into the body. And so the body is reflecting divinity. Mind and intellect is reflecting divinity. And so all of me is reflecting divinity. And then I look at you, and your mind and intellect is reflecting divinity. And that reflection of divinity is then reflected on your body. And so your body is a reflection of divinity. And so usually I meet you and I see body, mind, intellect. But if I can stay in to look at, I start to see divinity's reflection, and you as the reflective surface. And it's incredibly beautiful. If you look at sunlight reflected on water, then not only is the reflection of the sunlight beautiful, the water is beautiful. And the combination of the water and the light is incredibly beautiful. And so now when I'm seeing it, I'm seeing reflection of divinity, and you, the reflective surface. And divinity, of course, is beautiful, and you are beautiful because you're allowing that reflection to happen. Now, it's not that you allowing the reflection to happen or not happen. It's my ability to see. And that's what this to look at is. Like, what are we looking at? Because whatever we look for, we find. You know, the other day I was very distracted. I think I told you that during yoga. I want to do the yoga. So what kept looking, there's dirt here, there's hair here, this needs cleaning. Because I was looking for something to distract me from the yoga. Every corner. She told me to do asana where I look up. Oh, the ceiling needs cleaning. She told me to do asana to look down, carpet. Whatever you look for, you'll find. I was looking for dirt. I found plenty. You look for beauty, you find plenty. You look for faults, oh wow, you will find. Look for divinity. The looking for divinity has to be open to see it. And the looking for divinity is different to looking for dirt, or looking for faults, or looking for red. Because divinity has to reveal itself to me. I can't see it. English is just too limited for me to be able to say it some other way. It's there. It's not that it's not there. It's constantly there. But it has to be revealed to me by divinity itself. And I think that because it's revealed to me, there's this sense of incredible humbleness. I didn't find it. It was revealed to me. And so the heart remains very, very humble. And therefore, it can be seen. Because divinity can't be seen when pride and arrogance creeps in. And so if I see divinity, then, oh, pride, doership, arrogance, and possession and ownership and all of that will come. And then divinity is gone, because then, pride is very big. Nothing else fits in when pride is there. Pluck out everything else very quickly. So respect. So we can play with this in so many ways to respect. What are we respecting about other people? And then, in my journey as a student and as a teacher, when we understand intelligence, intelligence is such a wondrous thing, such an incredibly fascinating thing. And we have such a stereotype box of what intelligence is. But actually, intelligence is so vast. Like the street smartness of some people is so cool. Or so just as intelligence can have so many different types of intelligence. And humor can have so many different types of humor. Care can have so many different types of care. Beauty can have so many different types of beauty. Then respect suddenly becomes so incredibly easy, because of course, whoever it is that's in front of me has a beauty, has a intelligence, has a talent or skill or uniqueness. But the crucial factor is to remove that boundary that we create, that this is beautiful, this is intelligence, this is talent. And so, because even with beauty, right, and whether it be a face or whether it be something outside, we tend to create stereos, or we tend to have preferences of what we consider to be beautiful, but also we've got we've limited what can be. But the most unlikeliest thing sometimes can be so incredibly beautiful. I can't think of a single example now. But so we tend, our vasanas, this is, will make us have preferences, likes, dislikes, and then our conditionings through in the social realm will tend to create confines in where we look for things and how we look for things. But in finding respect, in playing with how to respect, we kind of have to throw all of that social conditioning out the window and throw even likes and dislikes out the window. So it's that openness of mind to be able to invite divinity to reveal itself to me. If I'm looking at one spot, if I'm looking for beauty and I'm trying to find it here, maybe in the face, maybe in the words, maybe in the expression of how they show affection, then it can't be revealed to me because I'm looking at one spot, or I'm looking for it in a particular way. But divinity can't be found that way. Divinity has to be revealed. And so there's no, there can't be an agenda that I'm looking at you and I'm going to find your intelligence and I'm going to find your beauty. There can't be that agenda. There has to be an invitation for divinity to reveal itself. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. And the more you want it, the less likely it is to happen, which is one of the ironies of divinity and because sometimes when we really want it, that desire itself becomes so big that we can't see it, even though it's right there. So there has to be a certain amount of trust in this whole process. And so there's an invitation, and then it's just there. So respect sounds like, something I have to do, but it's actually a lot of things. It's a clearing of my mind. and an openness of my mind to be able to recognize what's there. And that's why the word is recognize. Like, so I already have my opinions of you. I already have my judgments of just about everything, right? I mean, we have so much. We've already thought about everything so much. But recognize means leave all that which I've already thought, leave it. I've already thought it, done. Okay. And so now when I'm looking, I see it as though fresh, as though new. And the mind has to be completely open. But habit of our personality and our thinking is when I come to now, I bring with me all what I've already cognized. And so I repeat what I've already thought now, because I brought it with me. So I'm thinking the same thing. Most of us are thinking the same thing all the time. We don't really think different things. We just rethink the things that we've already thought. That's true with our fears, that's true with our desires, that's true with our likes, and that's true with our dislikes. Yeah. And then sometimes in a moment of presence, when we're completely present in sattva, we look at a person and we think, oh, how come I didn't see that before? Or with me, it's even happened, I've tasted something and I'll think, I don't really like this. Why do I eat it so much? Just became habit. Or I do like this. How come I don't eat it more often? Or just noticing the taste in that moment. Like, did this always taste this way? Must be a new fresh season and they must be more tasty. Anything, right? The idea is that when we're in that moment and we see it fresh, or we allow it to be fresh. There's this really cool book. Actually, the coolest books I've read have been kids' books. That's probably why I'm a kids author. Really, the coolest books I've read are kids' books. There's this character, that dog character, that very Snoopy. Is it Snoopy? Must be Snoopy, right? Maybe that's why also I'm a kids author. I was very deprived in my childhood. I didn't have books, which was great because now I have a greater appreciation for them. So Snoopy wakes up and there's fog. And so he's walking around the neighborhood and he can't see the neighborhood because there's fog. And so he encounters the dog, which is there every day of the week, but he can't see the dog and he's encountering it as though it's a new creature. And he thinks it's so beautiful and it's so happy and it's so friendly and what a nice little creature that can have so much affection and joy. And because he can't see it, it's fog. And then he's walking along and he smells these amazing flowers and he thinks how fragrant and how nice an aroma and what a wonderful creation that they can be such a beautiful smell on this planet. And so he walks around like this for a couple of pages and he says, what incredible new world have I woken up into today, that it seems so much more beautiful and so much more exciting and so much more. It's like such a happy, wonderful place to be. I don't know where I woke up today. And around about that time, the sun has risen up in the sky and the fog has disappeared. And he's been in his own neighborhood the whole time. But he saw it differently because he couldn't see it. And so kids' book ends with, it was the same world that he woken up to every day. But when he saw it differently, it became a different world. And so we do have respect for certain things already. But even for those things, to just let go of all the things we've already thought and experience it afresh, which is such an incredible part of spirituality, right? Being present and seeing things as it is in the present. It's the spiritual journey. There's no other spiritual journey. It is meditation, which is all the buzzword at the moment. Okay, so respect. And so this week's homework is going to be to play with looking at, to be able to just look at faces, because it worked a wonder for me. Faces worked a wonder for me. But things as well, and flowers and nature and trees, stars, sky, clouds. Clouds are so incredibly fascinating. I could really spend a whole day looking at clouds. I think I really could. Anyway, you look and you'll find whatever it is that fascinates you. And then situations, to be able to see situations and to really just see it for what it is. Sometimes strained, sometimes misunderstood, sometimes taken for granted, sometimes more complicated than it need be, sometimes neglected, just to see it for what it is. And so to practice that ability to see. And then the second part of respect is, so this one is really to clear the mind and to let it show itself to you. But the second part of respect, which may be easier, is to actually look for, because this one's hard, right? This one's a very meditative state of mind, to just have this openness and to invite divinity to reveal itself. But to consciously look for beauty, consciously look for intelligence, consciously look for nobility, consciously look for sincerity, any kind of value, a person's persistence, determination, a person's responsibility, a person's ability to be consistent, a person's just whatever quality about them that can be beautiful, even if it's not one that I may necessarily have thought was beautiful. A virtue is beautiful. So a person's ability to sacrifice for their own family, to put those people before and above everything else. And when we look, we can start to see the beauty of it, and we can start to see the beauty of their journey and how they got to where they are. So one is consciously looking for, like, finding things about this person that you can respect, so that my affection towards them is genuine and sincere, because there is something I hold valuable that I see in them. And the second one is to not do it consciously, just be available. So you're going to do both this week. You're like, what? How can I do both at the same time? Alternate. From 10 to 11, do one. From 11 to 12, I'm joking. You figure out how you do both. Alternate days. Because also we're in different moods, right? We go through different moods. So in some moods we want to consciously do and find, and in some moods we want to be able to surrender. But homework is definitely having both. Okay, so the other thing here is insult. When we don't respect, when we don't value, we automatically insult, even though we may not consciously know we're doing this. So if I don't value you, I will end up insulting you. Now, Maybe I don't intend to insult you. Maybe I don't even notice you are there, which is insult, right? And so we do this all the time. How do we do this? We like one person. And then in our liking of this person, we insult so many others. And I see this so often. So often I see it. So this is really maturity. Even as I say it, I can see how it can be perceived as an insult because I'm calling people who do it immature. Did I tell you I was taking Balviar class that one time and I was teaching, I think 6 and 7-year-olds, and I was saying, somebody wants to come to your party. What will you do? This kid who you haven't invited to your party found out you're having a party and they now want to come to your party. What will you do? And one of the girls said, pretend like I'm not having the party. So when she answered, to be a Balviar teacher is really tricky because my face will say a lot when she answers that way. It's like, how can you say that? Now, she knows I have judged her. You can't do that. Can't do that in a class. Also, I'm thinking, how are you so devious at such a young age? You cannot think that. So I said, that's interesting. How are you going to do that? How are you going to pretend you're not having the party? Or just say when she's, no, I'm not having a party. I said, don't you think she'll know you're lying? Sometimes people are not smart. 7-year-olds actually speak their mind. Not all, huh? But this one did. And I was thinking to myself as she said that, this is what adults do. Like, how is she so different to a lot of adults I know? So, of course, it's Balviar class. And I'll say, what if you, the person not invited? How do you feel? Terrible, sad. They said all the right answers, everything you would feel, right? So I said, okay, now let's go back to it's your party and she wants to come. Yeah, I'm still not inviting her. I'm like, why? But if I didn't invite her in the first place, I probably don't like her and I don't want her there at my party. We can be insulting without intending to or wanting to. Because I am very sure that little girl thinks she's a nice person. And I actually have an incredible amount of respect for her because she said, very honestly, what a lot of people won't say, but think. Honesty is a great quality to have. I know exactly where I stand with you. I told her, when's your next party? Are you calling me? When we don't respect, we will hurt. We will hurt. Because we don't care enough. I remember I was doing this assignment in school about third world countries. And there was this whole thing about educating us how advertising for charities can be highly insulting to the people that you are raising money for. And at that point, it was UNICEF, and they were advertising starving children in Ethiopia. And the pictures that they used were of very malnourished, very dukhi children, so that people like us in our comfortable lives feel bad and give money. Those same pictures would be in Ethiopia as part of all their promotional material. And those kids were made so much fun of, which we would never know. And so I don't know if you've noticed now, pictures of kids in third world countries, they're smiling. I don't know if you've noticed, there's a change in the way they advertise. Because even though I'm trying to raise money for you, I don't have to insult you. But why was it being done? So people give more money. The intention was good, right? The intention was noble. The more dukhi I make this kid look, the more people are going to give me money. So here I am thinking, I love you, I want to raise money for you. No, I don't respect you. I'm showing you to be dukhi and poor and, bicharo types. Respect is I show your beauty. I show you worthwhile. I show you deserving of as much as anyone else is deserving of. See how subtle it is. One's love, one's not. It's so subtle. It's so easy for us to think that's love. I'm raising money for poor people. Why am I calling them poor? Maybe they don't have money, but they're not poor. They have beauty, they have worth. In fact, that's why I'm raising money for them and focus on that. So what I'm trying to say is, if I don't respect, I will end up insulting. I don't mean to, I may not intend to, but I will end up insulting. And why am I saying this? Because what we need to understand is, a lot of the times when we are feeling insulted, they don't mean it. But they don't respect me. Yeah, it's okay. Actually, it's okay. How is it okay? If I respect myself, if I see my own worth and my own beauty, it will shine and it will reveal itself to you at some point or the other. And so this is where that self-love, self-respect, self-acceptance, all those qualities that we spoke about earlier come in. Yeah. It's not something I have to fight for. We feel we have to fight for other people's respect. Or sometimes we feel we have to earn other people's respect. No. We just have to be. Just like I'll only see their true beauty when it's revealed to me, I'll see my own when I look with a mind that's open to see. And when I see my own, I'll be able to live it and manifest it. And so this quality is beautiful because it's so important for us to be able to practice it, but it's also so important for us to not be insulted. Because we can feel so wounded by the feeling of being not loved and not respected. And then that feeling of not being loved and not being respected totally consumes our attention. When the whole point was for me to love and for me to be able to respect. And so it's a distract. It's one of the tricks our ego plays on us. Like, I'm not respected. It's a distract. I'm not loved. It's a distract. Because if I'm sitting here thinking about that, I'm not doing what I should be doing. I'm not doing what I really want to be doing. So be aware of the mind's tricks. And the mind will trick. It's a trickster, it will trick. And then, you know, when a kid's trying to do masti and I'm watching, how much can they do? Because I'm watching. And I'll usually smile at them because you're not going to be able to do much. Do the same with your mind. Just watch it and smile. It'll have to give up the distraction and refocus its attention on loving, beholding, and inviting divinity to reveal itself. Don't get distracted. How do I know? Because I got distracted so many times. Experience is a great teacher. Pausing here. Any questions?
So when you said one wants to get that respect and love from others, or it bothers examples, if I say I want love or respect and I don't get it, is it because I don't want myself to respect myself?
If somebody else doesn't respect me, it might be I don't respect myself, or it could just be their limitation. It's not necessarily my limitation. I mean, it's not like they're perfect.
But if I loved myself enough, then perhaps I wouldn't feel that I want her to love me.
No, we will want people to love us. Normal. We just don't have to make it such a big deal. It's very normal that we'll want people to like us and love us and be nice to us. Of course, we're going to want it. It's innate, right? That desire is innate. So of course we want it. Even somebody who I know really doesn't like me, every now and then I'll think, oh, why can't they just smile once? But then you don't let that become so big. That for whatever, it serves a purpose. And for me, in my journey, I've noticed when people haven't liked me, it really has helped keep me humble. It really has helped me see that those parts of me that need work. So serves a purpose when people don't like it. Also serves a purpose because am I going to love them? Am I going to let them not loving me get the better of me? So everything serves a purpose. Doesn't necessarily mean that if I love myself, everyone's going to love me. No, 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 no. It's never going to happen that everyone's going to love me. Just not going to happen. I mean, you look at Ramchandra ji, not everybody loves him, Bicharo, and he was an avatar. Krishna, not everybody loved him. Again, avatar. Great saints and sages, not everybody loved them. Even people like, really well known, Rowling's, so famous, so many people love Harry Potter, so many, and then there'll be these few who are like, she's so useless, she doesn't know how to write properly, and you'd be like, huh? Oh, so somebody who's an amazing singer and then like 90% of the world love them, but there'll be the 10 who will say, I can sing better in the shower. So like, it's never gonna happen that everyone loves you. Because this is duality, samsara. Samsara, you're gonna have both. And that's the point. You can't chase the one person who doesn't love you, the two people that don't love you, and then you make your whole world about that when there's others who love you. And you can love. You can love even the Karus who doesn't love you. And in their own way, maybe they do also. Who knows? So other people not loving us doesn't mean we're not doing a great job. We're doing a great job. We are reflecting divinity. We're inviting them to see it. Come, come, see my divinity. Now, if they can't see, what to do? How can one measure, realize how one makes others feel if they don't? How do we know how others feel? Well, the next section is about knowledge, paying attention. When we pay attention, we can see how they feel. Yeah. They don't have to express. In fact, when they express, it's not reliable. And Guruji always gives this when people ask him, how do I know if I'm growing spiritually? How do I know if I'm actually progressing? And Guruji's reply is, by the smiles of the people around you. How many are smiling? How genuine is that smile? How heartfelt is that smile of the people around you? That's how you'll know how well you do. You can see in their face. How happy are they to see you? You can see. Whether we want to see or not is a different story. Yes.
You spoke about deep response at the beginning.
Deep response.
How do you form that?
How do you form deep response? You love with your whole heart, and it comes. Make a few mistakes along the way, but it comes. When we love, we don't love with our whole heart. We get scared. I think I mentioned this already. Our hearts are incredible. Firstly, they're the only things that work, even though they're completely broken. But the other incredible thing about our heart is it can love. The whole heart can love one person. And then when you're with another person, the whole heart can love this person also. It's not like you have to divide the heart. Half will love this person, half will love this person. It doesn't work that way. The whole heart has to love. every person. Deep response comes. It just comes. Like the 3D picture. Everything just comes. We have to be willing. But also paying attention. Deep response also comes with paying attention, which is the next quality. That understanding. Start to when we pay attention, we learn, we understand, we get tuning comes with knowledge. Like if somebody does, we creatures of habits, right? So like say, a person comes home and the first thing they do is make hot water for themselves. And you see this day in, day out, day in, day out. They come home, they make hot water for themselves. You're speaking to them, they'll say, I'll be home in 5 minutes. You put the water to start making hot. Because you know they're going to come home, they're going to want hot water. So when we pay attention, it helps. You get to, it's a little bit more deliberate, but it gets there. So care turns into deep response. You pay attention. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukhabhag bhavet, asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityarma gamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnam Dashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Hari Om.